I'd like to talk about love, intimacy, sexuality, and the attractions of life from a traditional point of view, or a modern way to say it is the electromagnetic point of view. That sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Electromagnetic. What does that actually mean? Let's go back to this idea that I've spoken of before, where life's all about polarities. So our human body, our human makeup, even our mind and our emotions, they run on a charge of energy. And of course, when we're very young, that charge is full. We're given a package of energy. In Chinese medicine, they call it yuan qi. It's the life package we're given. And as we go through life, we slowly use that up. But if we're wise, we don't burn it up too quick. We make it last. We conserve it so that we can get into our later years and still be full of life, full of spark and spirit. And that's very important in their culture. And a lot of the wise cultures that have evolved over time all understood that this life is very precious, and not to throw it away or waste it, but to get the best out of it, to cultivate it. And that meant often doing things that brought us to a state of joy, or following what our heart really wants to do. And you might hear that a lot. Follow your heart, do what makes you happy. That's great, but sometimes we can get a little bit mixed up with that. What does following our heart mean? So let's come back to the understanding that our body's got these centers of energy. They're called chakras, which just means spinning wheels of energy. And we've got them through the core of our bodies. They go into our spine, in and out of our spine. And they start at the base of our spine, near our tailbone, and they go right up to the top of our head. So when we're in harmony, and when we're living according to the traditional way, in harmony with our spirit or our soul, we're living our life's lessons according to what makes us happy, what the things that give us a sense of fulfillment or happiness. So when we're young and our battery's strong and our charge is strong, we get attracted to things pretty quickly, don't we? You know, we're coming through the spring, the early phase, and then we get into the summer of our life. And our adulthood springs onto us. And so what do we get attracted to? Our sexual energy begins to blossom and rise. So we get attracted to someone who turns us on. We want to connect with them. We have the urge to merge. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's how we learn and grow. And in our modern culture, there's a lot of rules and regulations that are meant to help us and guide us, but somehow we get misguided, and then we throw the rules away and don't use them with any understanding at all. And so we can go from one extreme, where a culture can be very sexually open and so free, and that it can become confusing and chaotic and cause a lot of heartache and heartbreak. Or it can go the other way, where we can become so inhibited and so many rules and regulations that we deny this basic life force, this sexual life force, or Kundalini energy. So it's important for us to realize that there's nothing wrong with feeling attracted to someone or something in life. From a traditional medicine point of view, I've come to this understanding, and you don't have to agree with anything I say, by the way. Just take it in and see if it sits right with you. And if it does, that's great. And if it doesn't, chuck it out. Just because Tony said it doesn't mean that it's absolutely true. But from my own experience, I've learnt in life that if I deny the feelings that I have, particularly growing up with a strict religious background, we were taught very much to deny the feelings and the urges that we had, and so we repress those things. And I did that terribly and created a lot of problems and addictions in my world, because I didn't allow myself to acknowledge this is how I feel. So our feelings, not necessarily our emotions, but our feelings, the urges that draw us to do things in life, I think are a bit of a GPS system. They're there to guide us along. Does it mean those feelings will always be correct and accurate? No. No, but it does mean that we're going to learn something. And personally, from my near-death experiences, I learnt that the soul is here to have experiences, to learn things. So having experiences can mean sometimes that we have results, so we go, well, that wasn't the best outcome that I'd hoped for. Maybe we got attracted to someone and we were really turned on to them and we were so passionate about it and we were so infatuated with them. And we got involved, and later on we thought, what the hell was I thinking? That was crazy. I went through crazy stuff. The fire energy was burning so strong in me, I couldn't see that person for who they really were. And in our modern culture, we tend to see that as bad and wrong. But from a traditional medicine point of view, it's not bad or wrong. We learned something. We learned about ourselves. We learned about that other person. And we grew in wisdom. So the point I'm really trying to make here is, often when we get involved in intimate relationships that have that sexual drive, that's the chemistry that gets us going, that's kind of like the juice that gets us interested. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as we mature in the relationship, we start to realise that just the sexual act itself has a limited time span, because our battery is going to run out of energy as we get older, and so our sexual energy will naturally decline. So how can we use that energy to enhance our experience and take us to a deeper intimacy? In other words, take us to a deeper feeling of love, which is many times beyond emotions. You know, the deepest love, what I understand to be unconditional love, sometimes we can't even use words to describe that. And that was what happened to me when I had my near-death experiences. You can't explain it in words. But if you've had deep relationships, if you've had children, if you've had really powerful experiences in your life where you kind of emotionally loved and hated someone, that's the juice of life. That's the electromagnetic forces working. That's plus and minuses doing their thing, coming together to have an experience. And so this, I feel, is so important for us not to give ourselves a hard time when we have experiences that don't work out well. Chalk them up as, oh well, I learned a lot about that, and not to beat ourselves up and not to repress the feelings that we have. And as we get older and wiser, it doesn't mean that we have to act on every urge and impulse that we have. Particularly as men, we might be attracted to someone and go, oh, that's great. But we learn to just sit back and observe. Instead of being quite so fiery, be a little more watery, a little bit more reflective, a little bit more contemplative, and go, do I really want to get involved here? And same for women. And in their role in life, as they learn to get over the fire of their emotions and their need to breed, they start to look at relationships differently, and a bit more wisdom starts coming in. And they start to realise, yeah, I really like that person, I'm really attracted to them, but maybe not for a long-term relationship. And so that's the getting of wisdom that the elders are there to show us. And unfortunately in our modern culture, we don't tend to respect the wisdom of the elders anymore. We sort of chuck them away as past their use-by date. But I just wanted to mention that the actual art of coming from a sexual feeling to a love feeling to a compassion feeling is an actual journey that the traditional cultures walk through in their spiritual life. And there's the mechanics of that, which I will discuss in future videos, on how to come together truly with a partner so that we go from lust and sex and passion to love, to compassion, to soul expression, where there's a deeper love that comes about for that person, for all the gifts they brought us and all the challenges that they brought us. To me, that's what the juicy stuff of this journey is all about.